Share in the comments how many of these riddles you will answer correctly. Samantha and Jack got stranded on a tiny uninhabited island. They had no radio or cell phones, so they couldn't inform rescuers about their dire situation. There were no trees on the island, so they couldn't make a smoke signal, and all around them was just sand and rocks. Suddenly, Samantha noticed a plane circling the sky in search of them. Unfortunately, it was flying too high, and the pilot couldn't see them. That's when she got a bright idea. Soon after, the plane picked them up. What was Samantha's idea? To use rocks to spell out SOS on the sand. Detective Cooper needed to find out the very last piece of missing information in a case he had been dealing with lately. He finally got to the office where secret documents were hidden. To open the door, he needs to choose the right button. There are 3 of them, a yellow one, a green one, and a blue one. Which one should the detective choose? The detective needs to choose the blue button. It's pretty worn out, so it must have been used many times. Plus, there's a small note with a warning. The green button is for an emergency, and the yellow one shuts all the doors and turns off the lights in the whole building. Wow, I want one of those. One day, Amanda thought her boyfriend Eric had a secret from her. To find out what it was, she needed access to his laptop. She had no idea what the password was, but luckily, there was a post-it note right on his desk. However, she needed to decipher the pass. Apple, man, dawn. Can you crack this code? Right, it's Amanda. Her name is the code. By the way, the secret he was hiding was the birthday present Eric had been choosing for her. Well, that's what you get for snooping. Jack and Jim agreed to say yes all day long to all questions. If one of them doesn't say yes to a question, he automatically loses and must give $100 to his friend. Jim realized there was one question nobody could say yes to. What question was it? Jim realized nobody could say yes to the "Are you asleep?" question. Jim waited until Jack took a nap and recorded a video in which Jack replied with a snoring but not yes to Jim's question. Seems like a cheap shot. Jason is a shop assistant in a department store. At the moment, there are 3 people in a fitting room he's assisting. Jessica, the girl, is wearing a green dress. Sean, a man wearing a leather jacket and skinny jeans. And Alex, the man who's currently taking a larger pair of jeans that Jason brought him. One of the clients is an alien. Jason has to figure out who it is. It's Alex. Take a closer look at his feet. Only a reptile or an alien could have such feet. Julian needed to find a very important document he'd lost. He looked through all the papers and finally found something that looked like the document he actually needed. However, a couple of seconds later, he realized there were 4 copies of this document looking precisely the same, or not. Can you guess which one is the real document? It's the one in the upper left corner. It has a stamp and a signature, and it says Agreement. The one next to it looks similar, but it has a spelling mistake. It says Agreedment. The rest of the copies lack either a stamp or a signature. Mr. and Mrs. Jones are fond of art and love collecting rare and expensive pieces. Once they had to go on a business trip, and when they came back home, they realized something precious was missing. They instantly called the police, but the officers were confused because no painting was taken. Why were Mr. and Mrs. Jones worried then? A frame was missing. In fact, it cost much more than many art pieces, as it was encrusted with gems. Mary was walking in the woods and suddenly saw a really fancy castle. It was getting late, and she thought she might ask for a stay there overnight. It was a wicked troll's castle, and he really didn't like intruders. Mary was captured and locked in a dark room with 2 guards. Still, the troll gave her a chance to break free. There are 2 doors in the room. One door leads to freedom, and the other is locked. The guards know which door will set Mary free. One of the guards always tells the truth, while the other always lies, and Mary doesn't know who it is. She can ask just one question to one guard only. What question should she ask? If Mary says, "If I ask your colleague to show me the way to freedom, what door will it be?" No matter what the guard replies, they will point at the locked door. The one that lies will show the wrong door, and the one that doesn't lie will show the wrong door too, since it would be chosen by the one who lies. This way, Mary knows the wrong door, and she needs to select the other one. One man went to his friend's party and told his wife he'd be back before sunrise. He shaved and left home. He returned, as promised, before sunrise, but he was sporting a long, thick beard. How come? The man and his wife live in a place with polar nights that last for several months. Anthony, the financial director of a big company, finally persuaded new partners to sign a super important agreement. He then put this document into a folder and left it on the table in his office. When he arrived at work the following day, the folder was gone. Anthony gathered all the employees in the office at the time and questioned them. The cleaning lady said she had been busy washing the floor and hadn't paid attention to anything around. The designer explained that he hadn't left his working place even once. What's more, being an artist, he didn't have any interest in agreement documents. The accountant admitted that he had entered Anthony's office to have some documents signed, but once he noticed there was no one inside, he immediately left. Who took the folder with the agreement? It was the designer. Anthony never mentioned which folder was gone. How would he know that the missing folder had an agreement inside? Eric wears either only black or only white socks. One morning, he was in a hurry to get ready for an important meeting. Suddenly, the power goes out. The guy has 10 white and 10 black socks in his drawer, but all of them are mixed. He doesn't want to look silly at work wearing different socks. If it's completely dark in the room and Eric can't see anything, how many socks should he pull out of the drawer to get himself 2 matching ones? Three socks are more than enough. In a set of 3 socks, he's bound to have 2 of the same color. Jane told her boss someone had taken the documents she had prepared for the meeting. She added that she had noticed someone come in wearing a smart suit, gloves, and a black mask. This person also had 3 rings on their fingers. The boss didn't believe her. Why? She said the person was wearing gloves. Then how did she see 3 rings on their fingers? Jane must have simply forgotten to print those documents out. On a nice warm day, Vivian, who lived in a town on the seashore, decided to go for a hike alone. But after hours of trekking, she ended up in a section of the forest she wasn't familiar with. Before her, there were 3 paths. One path had bare footprints leading away. Another had human footprints. And the third one was right by the river. Which one should Vivian take to find her way? The river path. Since she lives in a coastal town, the river mouth most likely ends up in the sea. That way, she could figure out where she was. So now it's your turn. Count 'em up. How many correct answers do you have?
Nancy and Mike were going to the Carnival of Riddles, which was scheduled to be in their town during the weekend. It was a very popular carnival that was traveling the country, and everybody was so excited. So, when they arrived, they saw a very long line, and it seemed like they had to wait for many hours to be able to get in. But the ticket salesman left his booth and walked in front of the crowd. He said that he was going to give a riddle to everyone. Since this was the Carnival of Riddles, those who could answer correctly would be able to get inside earlier than others. The riddle was this: I am the beginning of eternity. I am the end of time and space. I am the start of every end. I am the end of every place. What am I? The answer is the letter E. Nancy and Mike were so happy that they knew the answer and didn't have to wait to get in. But even though they were able to move in front of the line, they still had to pay for the tickets. But they were so expensive. The salesman offered them another riddle. If they could answer it, he would give them a 50% discount. I have an X number of candy apples. If I count them by threes, the remainder is 2. If I count them by fives, the remainder is 3. If I count them by sevens, the remainder is 2. How many candy apples do I have? Mike was kind of a genius, so he knew the answer immediately. Do you? The answer is 23. Nancy and Mike were glad to have been able to save some cash to buy snacks. Nancy wanted to get something sweet for herself and her brother, so they went to the candy booth. They had 3 options to choose from. They could either buy cotton candy, candy cane, or a candy apple. Which one should they pick? Take a closer look at the cotton candy. There's a teeny tiny spider stuck inside. Yikes! And did you notice that little apple worm inside the candy apple? That's never good. So, they should buy the candy cane. Before leaving the candy booth, Mike wanted to get a gumball too. However, when he inserted his coin into the gumball vending machine, he realized that something was strange. Hey! Do you see it too? Look inside the machine carefully. Not everything in there is a gumball. This and that are eggs. How weird is that? Hey! After eating their candy, they came upon a tent with a sign that said, "Enter if you want to see real magic." They were intrigued, so they decided to walk in. There were 3 different magicians. The first was holding cards in his hands. Then he made them disappear. The second one also had cards, but he was making them levitate. And the third one put a pen through a card, but the card was unharmed after. Only one of them was capable of real magic, and the others were just doing tricks. Can you tell who? Take a closer look at the first magician's sleeves. You can see a corner of the card. He didn't make them disappear, he just hid them. The second magician's cards are attached to a clear thread. You can notice it from where the sunlight hits. So the third one is the real deal. Mike was a fan of all things scary, so he convinced his sister to take the haunted house ride. As their cart moved inside the dark tunnel, they encountered 3 different monsters along the way. A zombie, a ghost, and a mummy. Little did they know that one of them was a real monster. Can you tell which one? Take a look at the zombie. Its makeup is kind of melting, which means that it must be an actor. As for the mummy, look at his ankle. His skin slightly shows under all that mummy gauze. So he must be a dressed-up actor as well. That makes the ghost the real monster. So creepy. Nancy didn't enjoy the haunted house ride. She wanted her next ride to be something relaxing, so she chose the carousel. Mike decided to skip this one to explore the carnival more. They agreed to meet later. When Nancy arrived at the carousel, she saw that all the horse seats were taken, except 3. But only one of them looked safe to sit on. Which one is that? The second horse mount is cracked. It's not wise to pick that one. And the third horse is slowly moving back and forth even though the carousel is not rotating yet. Its screws must be loose or something. So she should choose the first one. It's the cutest one anyway. As Nancy was enjoying the carousel, Mike decided to check out the Hall of Mirrors. The information board said that only one person was allowed inside. Mike entered and had so much fun enjoying all the funny reflections of himself on the weird mirrors. But then, suddenly, he screamed with fear. Why is that? Take a closer look at the mirror reflections. One of them doesn't belong to Mike, so he is apparently not the only one inside, even though the sign said he would be. Mike was so scared of the unexpected reflection. He ran out of the Hall of Mirrors immediately, but as he did, he tripped on a stone and twisted his ankle. So he decided to visit the first aid tent to get some ice. When he walked in, he saw that the nurse was in panic and in no condition to help him out because there were 3 pregnant women sitting in front of her, all claiming they were going to give birth now. However, Mike noticed that one of them was lying and faking her pregnancy. Can you tell who? Girl number 3 is clearly the liar. Take a look at the ultrasound picture in her hand. It has the first girl's name on it. She must have stolen it from her, so she's only pretending to be pregnant. Once the real pregnant ladies left for the hospital, Mike was able to get some ice for his ankle and went to meet his sister. At that moment, they heard an announcement coming from the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, gather up to see the strongest man alive. Don't believe me? I'm not lying. Here he comes. See him with your own eyes. Nancy and Mike wanted to see who this man was, so they joined the crowd. A muscular-looking man entered the stage. He said,
I will prove to you how strong I am by breaking this thing with my bare hands. But first, you have to guess what it is. Here is my riddle to you. There was a greenhouse. Inside the greenhouse, there was a White House. Inside the White House, there was a red house. Inside the red house, there were lots of little ones. Nancy knew the answer, so she yelled it out. Can you guess? It's a watermelon, and the strongman was able to break it with his bare hands indeed. So cool! Nancy and Mike were tired, so they decided to call it a day and go home. But before that, they wanted to get a souvenir from the carnival. They picked a beautiful fridge magnet. When they paid for it, the gift shop salesman put 3 cups upside down on the table and placed their money under one of them. He said he would give their money back and the magnet for free if they could guess which cup had their money after he performed his trick. Watch carefully. Nancy knew where the money was immediately. How about you? It's here. You thought it was under this one, right? Watch it in slow motion again. Do you see the salesman putting the money under that one with a quick hand movement? Nancy noticed that. What a fun day!